help wipe out kids' cancer. We'll be talking to the founder of a legendary nonprofit here in Dallas that's been helping for more than 40 years. That's next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've been spies.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a
And we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team. And the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, there's probably not a family in the United States that hasn't been touched by cancer in some form or another. But when it affects a child, it's just absolutely heartbreaking. To talk about that today, Cindy Brinker Simmons, she's the founder of Wipe Out Kids Cancer. You started this now 40 plus years ago.
I did. Jeff, you're so right. I don't know anybody who has not been touched by cancer. And when I was 12 years old, I was sitting on a very uncomfortable church pew seat next to my 10-year-old daughter and my 37-year-old dad. And we had just buried my 34-year-old mother from ovarian cancer. And I was so heartbroken and so traumatized and so confused and angry that I just said, someday I've got to do something to eradicate the scourge of a disease that had just taken my beloved mom. So when I graduated from college, I got involved with the American Cancer Society and did some events. And then 3 years later, I decided, I think we can do something even more. And so I made a nonprofit organization out of it, and then a movement began. And to your point, it's amazing that 40 years later, Jeff, 40 years later, still 43 children a day are diagnosed with cancer. That's one about every 30 minutes. And Wipe Out Kids Cancer finds that unacceptable. So our mission is to relentlessly pursue and celebrate the day when no child is threatened by cancer.
Well, you have a wonderful organization, and we found a great overview video. Let's go ahead and roll that now.
I like Wipe Out Kids Cancer because when I first had cancer, I was really scared, and Wipe Out Kids Cancer really changed cancer, and before I thought cancer was going to be really rough. And then now, with Wipe Out Kids Cancer, it's actually, there's a bright side too, and not just a bad side.
Wipe Out Kids Cancer has been an incredible source of community for us. For my husband and I, we were able to sit with other parents going through, similar, not the same, no one has the same road, but to have people who understand what it's like to have your world rocked like that and to have to choose between chemotherapy, drugs, and treatment options and going through it at the same time. There's a lot of comfort in that. And it was so amazing for Lucy at a time where she was feeling so self-conscious about how she looked after she lost all of her hair, and she looks very different from what she's used to looking. And she went to a party where she saw that there are lots of other kids like her, and Wipe Out Kids Cancer has really embraced the whole family. There's, it's not just Lucy going through cancer, but she has 3 siblings whose lives are just completely changed. Their foundations are rocked, and Wipe Out Kids Cancer even had events that my other kids could go to and feel normal, and they were with other kids whose siblings were going through similar things, and really just the community, Lucy's friends, the siblings' friends, the camaraderie and the advice and just the commiseration of other parents, not to mention just the organization is doing so much to help. We're just really grateful for Wipe Out Kids Cancer.
Well, Cindy, I can only imagine being you because you get to meet these families that you're helping. What is that like?
Well, as Sweet Mary said for her precious Lucy, the 4 hardest words that are just so haunting is, your child has cancer. But yet I am so empowered and so encouraged by these heroes of families, because as Mary said, that cancer just doesn't affect the child, it affects the whole family. And these families are resilient, and they just propel us, Jeff. They just make us want to continue again relentlessly to work on their behalf and be champions for them and walk alongside them. It is such a joy and an honor and a privilege to be around these families.
Wow, what a blessing. And we're going to give the audience a way to get involved with Buddy Bags in a second, but let's go ahead and roll this clip.
Diagnosed with a rare form of cancer right after we had moved across the country.
Hi, I'm Lucy, and this is my buddy bag, and I like it because there's a handlebar, so when I'm weak, I can carry it, and it fits all my stuff perfectly.
We're so grateful for the Buddy Bag. Right after Lucy was diagnosed, our heads were spinning and our minds were reeling. And Wipeout Kids Cancer came with the Buddy Bag that was full of practical things that we needed that we hadn't even thought of. And it just provided such a comfort at a time that seemed so unsure. And it was such a cool thing for Lucy when she could do so little on her own, to be able to just wheel her own stuff by herself. It was such a magical thing. So we were very grateful.
Cynthia, I have to know who came up with the idea of the Buddy Bag?
Actually, Jeff, a family whose son had cancer realized that there was a little vacuum in providing a transition, an easy transition from home to hospital. You know, Jeff, you've got a daughter named Sarah and a son named Dallas. And if you went to the pediatrician's office when they were young, and perhaps Sarah or Dallas had a cold or a fever or maybe had a cough, flu-like symptoms, you would think that you could just get perhaps a Z-Pack or antibiotics or medicine from the pediatrician. The last thing that you would think is after blood work was taken that the pediatrician would come in and say, Jeff, we think Sarah, we think Dallas has leukemia. You need to go straight to the hospital. But that's the reality of so many families. So they go straight from the pediatrician's office to the hospital. They don't go home and gather their things. So for all of those who go to one of our 3 partnering hospitals in Dallas and Fort Worth, they are greeted, if they are staying in the hospital, for not only just a few days, sometimes it's weeks, they are greeted with a Buddy Bag. And a Buddy Bag, as Mary was saying, has essential items, over 30 items, from toiletries to puzzles to cards to coloring books to electronics to even a blanket and a pillow for mom and dad. Just basic items that they weren't even thinking about. And many of our families have said the Buddy Bags are medicine for their souls. And again, it's a way to ease the transition, Jeff, from home to the hospital.
And we've got an event coming up soon.
Yes.
We're going to put it on the screen so people can take a look. Tell us more about the Buddy Bag Bash.
Yes. Well, the Buddy Bag Bash is a way for us just to fund our Buddy Bag program. And we give out, sadly, hundreds of Buddy Bags in a month because there is such a need for them. You know, we are trying to put all oncologists, pediatric oncologists out of business, but we're not quite there yet. And so we give 3 of the hospitals in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Children's Medical Center, Cook's Children's in Fort Worth, and the Medical City Children's Hospital. If any child goes there and has an overnight stay, they get this Buddy Bag. So our Buddy Bag Bash is a way to fund our Buddy Bag program. And we're actually trying to increase our footprint and expand that program in 2022 to other cities outside of Dallas, even outside of Texas, because the Buddy Bags are just such a comfort. It's what I call hope, joy, and encouragement in a rolling suitcase, because the Buddy Bag is contained in a rolling suitcase.
Okay, what happens at the Buddy Bag Bash? Are they going to, what will they experience?
Right. It's a virtual event.
Okay.
You know, in COVID, we've had to
Sure.
be fairly nimble and flexible. So it's a virtual event on May 4th from 7 to 7:45. And the centerpiece of the Buddy Bag Bash is an interview with Karen Borda interviewing Babe Laufenberg. And Babe is a tremendous fellow. We know him as a former NFL football quarterback and as a color analyst now for the Cowboys Network. And he was also a sports anchor long time ago. But he's a dad, most importantly. And sadly, his son Luke battled cancer, was diagnosed with cancer, and lost his life, succumbed to cancer at age 21. So Karen is interviewing Babe about how that felt, about the cancer journey, and how Babe was so inspiring to so many people as he walked with Luke through that cancer journey, the courage, the fatherly compassion, and the way he impacted people along the way. And we have 3 people that he impacted. Troy Aikman, Jason Garrett, and Daryl Johnson are speaking on in our virtual program because they were so moved. As a matter of fact, on the piece of Troy, he's actually brought almost to tears.
Really?
Talking about his best friend, Babe, and the way he so courageously handled this hard journey. Because as you said, Jeff, it is so hard to think. It's unfathomable about losing a child.
Yes.
But yet Babe did it with such grace. So we have Babe and Kieran in the interview, and then we have our warriors who are Kids with Cancer, our heroes, and they'll be talking about what the buddy bags mean to them and their families. And then we have a doctor, a physician who's been with us for 40 years, just to talk about the impact that Wipe Out Kids Cancer has had on the pediatric cancer space. We've done so much with research that has really impacted survival rates over these last 4 decades.
Your eyes light up when you talk about this. I can see why you're so passionate about it. We've got about a minute left. Your camera's right there. Look into the camera and just talk to the person who's watching this and tell them why they need to get involved.
Life is hard. I have a hole in my heart that no EKG will ever detect because I lost a mother and I lost a husband to cancer. But people have all kinds of other issues too, and sadnesses. It could be physical, it could be health, it could be financial. So life is crushing. But we all need people to encourage us. We all need people to inspire us. And our hope is that by watching the Buddy Bag Bash, people will be encouraged and also will be motivated to help us in our pursuit to help these fabulous, resilient families who have just heard those 4 haunting words, your child has cancer, by purchasing a buddy bag and providing comfort and encouragement. I mean, that to me is such a joy because I found in my life that grief is not a new emotion, nor is activism a new phenomenon. But when you marry the two and you become other-focused, there's great healing that takes part in your life. And that, Jeff, is what I found in Wipe Out Kids Cancer. And I think anybody watching, just by buying a buddy bag, they know that they will be helping a hurting family.
Yes. In the little time we have left, I want to give a shout out to the Dallas Magnolias.
Yes.
Tell us about their involvement.
The Dallas Magnolias. This is a group of phenomenal philanthropic women and men who are just doing good. And they support events and programs and nonprofits like Wipe Out Kids Cancer. And they've just become a great philanthropic partner to us. So a shout out to the Dallas Magnolias.
Absolutely. Let's end with a couple of websites. First, your website, WOKC.org, Wipe Out Kids Cancer. And then the Dallas Magnolias, it's magnolias.org is their website. Please get involved. Cindy, thank you so much for blessing us.
Jeff,
this is
thank
a
you.
wonderful message.
My blessing. Thank you.
Bet. And that's it for now. We'll see you next time.